Guys, today we are talking about why the subconscious is a dangerous idea. Now, I know, is the subconscious really dangerous? Well, it's not actually. It is. I take that back. The subconscious is definitely dangerous, and I didn't just clickbait you. No, well, the idea of the subconscious is actually a good idea. I really like it. It's actually an indispensable idea. You can't really understand psychology properly without understanding the subconscious. However, the way it is used in psychology today is honestly shocking. The amount of BS about the subconscious is revolutionary. It's extra dimensional. It's something else. We're going to take a look at a few of the dangerous myths, the damaging myths that are out there about the subconscious in this video. Hopefully this won't be too long, and hopefully I don't get very angry. So, let's look at some myths about the subconscious. Myth number 1, it's separate to you. Newsflash, no it's not. Okay, so let's take an example of, say you're trying to change a belief, which is actually the most common, it's where you will encounter the subconscious the most often. It's when you're trying to change one of your beliefs, right? So you have a core belief, you have an old belief, a pathological belief, and you're trying to change it. And what happens? You're told that, okay, look, this belief is in your subconscious, and you need to do some maneuvers, you need to do some techniques to convince your subconscious to change that belief. That belief isn't in your conscious. You don't have direct access to it. You need to do some magic, some voodoo, to access your subconscious and change the belief there. This is complete BS. You do not need to do any magic or you don't need to try access the belief via your subconscious. You just access the belief the same way you access any other belief. This idea that the subconscious is separate to you makes no sense. Let me explain. You are your subconscious. Okay, basically, all of you is subconscious. That's what this image represents. It's the conscious part of you is a very small portion of all of you. Okay, no problem. But that doesn't actually mean that the conscious parts of you, say, for example, when trying to change a belief, aren't also coming from the subconscious and aren't always interacting with it. So, if you try change a belief consciously, it will affect your subconscious indefinitely. Like, when you hear my voice right now, let me ask you a question. When you just heard my voice there, did that affect your subconscious? What do you think? When you're hearing my voice right now, is that affecting your conscious or your subconscious? Well, it was a trick question because it's affecting both simultaneously. It's affecting both at the same time. Most of you is subconscious. I mean, if you look around right now in your field of view, just what do you see in your current experience? Do you see all your beliefs? Do you see all your preferences, your favorite ice cream? Do you see all your memories? No, you don't. You just see whatever you see and you feel whatever you feel in that instant, in that very moment. So, what about your next thought? What about what you're going to think next? Where is that in your current field of view, in your current experience? It's not even there. You can't see it. Your next thought is about to come from your subconscious. Okay, that's because you are your subconscious. You're a mixture. You're an interaction, a constant interface between conscious and subconscious. The idea that you're separate to your subconscious is BS. It's not true. You are your subconscious. You are almost all subconscious right now, and also you are your subconscious. Like, all the words you just heard right now went into your subconscious. Whatever you're seeing right now is being processed by your subconscious. Whatever you think next, if you just look at that thought, that's going to be analyzed by your subconscious. There's no escaping the subconscious. However, the way it's told in pop psychology is that it's separate to you. And that is true in certain cases. Don't get me wrong. There's certain things like you can't control your heart rate, can you? You can't control your blood pressure. You can't control the rate at which your liver is generating enzymes. But that's neither here or there, because when this claim is made, it's made in reference to changing beliefs. They tell you that, look, when you want to change this belief, you need to do some magician's work here to affect your subconscious. You can't just directly change what you consciously think. That's BS once again. The way you change your beliefs is just by changing what you actually think. You just convince the conscious you. You just convince you. That's how you change your belief. Once the hard part is actually finding out that you have the belief. It's not always a hard part, but more often than not, the hard part is finding out that you have some belief. For example, I didn't even know I had low self-esteem until like 2 months ago, right? But eventually, once I discovered this belief about myself, then it's no longer a matter of subconscious. Once you dig it out of the subconscious, if you will, once you realize or understand that you have a certain belief, then that's it. It's no longer subconscious. That's the end of that. Like, that story isn't going any further. Once you identify a belief, which can be tricky because, yes, your beliefs are in your subconscious, but once you find it, then that's it. There's no voodoo, there's no magic, there's no technique, there's no method, there's no system, there's no protocol to changing your subconscious separate to your consciousness. It's just the way you change that belief is by getting different evidence and getting a good understanding of that evidence. Now, if you haven't seen my video on beliefs, you really need to do so, because there's a load of BS on beliefs that makes no sense whatsoever. So I'd highly if you're looking to change your beliefs, you'd want to watch that video. So that's number one, that it's separate to you. Now, this is kind of related. Number two here is it has a mind of its own. This idea that, look, if you're trying to change some belief, your subconscious won't always listen to you. You need to, again, do some technique or some method, or you need to do some magic once again to get your subconscious to listen. It decides if it wants to change its mind or not. No, that's not true. You decide whether you want to change your mind. The person changing their mind is you. It's not your subconscious. That's complete BS. It's not your subconscious. It's you. The reason you don't believe whatever you don't believe is because you don't want to believe it. You haven't been convinced. So, number three, it's irrational. Nope, it's not irrational. The reason, and again, I'd recommend you watch our video on beliefs, because we explain why your mind appears to be irrational, but it's actually not. So, no, it's not irrational. The reason it hasn't been convinced, the reason you have these false beliefs about yourself, is there's only two reasons. Number one, you don't have enough evidence. And number two, you don't have a good understanding of that evidence. Those are the only two reasons you will not listen to evidence. You're not being irrational, you just haven't been convinced. And these are the two reasons you haven't been convinced. Okay, and you'll understand why you need these two things if you watch our video on beliefs. But anyway, so finally, that it has depth. I mean, I can kind of understand this one, but to be honest, I don't. I can try, do some magic as well. I'm a magician. I could see how I could maybe fit it into my model, but it really makes no sense. So here's the claim. Your subconscious has deepness. So there's certain things that are, just kind of in there, like are just, just below consciousness, right? And then there's certain things that are a medium level below subconsciousness, and then there's things that are really, really deep in your subconscious. Like they're so far down there, it's gonna be so hard to get them. No, this makes no sense. There's no proof of this whatsoever. The way it works is something is either conscious or subconscious. That's it. It's either in your subconscious or not in your subconscious. Okay, now the way this, but what you're told is that, oh, there's certain things that are really deep and it's going to be way harder to find them. And I mean, maybe, but I can't see, like, I'll give you an example. Let's use a concrete example to see why this doesn't really make sense. So if I have some belief about myself, like, say I have low self-esteem, but I don't realize it for whatever reason. Now, that belief that I hold is in my subconscious. Okay, great. How deep in my subconscious is that belief? I mean, I don't know. What does it mean for it to have a depth? Like, you think there's a distance? I mean, obviously they don't mean distance. They mean, when someone says this, they mean like difficulty, how hard it's going to be to find it. I mean, why is finding that particular belief harder than finding any other subconscious belief? Why is finding out that I have low self-esteem, or that I think, I can't think of any other beliefs. Why is finding out, say, man, I'm good at this. Why is finding out, what's another belief? I only acknowledge one belief in this world, and that's the belief of self-esteem. Why is, say, let's say I have a belief, like one of my friends does, that people don't like me and are out to get me. People see me, he has a belief that people see him as weak, and then because they know he's weak, they want to like attack him. Okay, that's a belief that at one point was subconscious to him. Okay, so say I also have this belief. I have low self-esteem, and I also have this other subconscious belief that people are out to get me. Now, both of these are subconscious. I have no knowledge of them. I have no understanding of them. What makes one deeper than the other? I mean, how can you assign a depth to these beliefs? I mean, there's only one way I can make sense of it. Like I said, maybe, and this is maybe, because in reality, we have no way of gauging how hard it's going to be to dig this out of your subconscious. Like, it might take years, or it might be instant. But there's really no objective metric. Like, you can't just look at that belief and go, yep, that has a depth of 10 meters or 6 feet, or like, there's no actual way of gauging that. There's no way of measuring it. It doesn't exist. I mean, how hard it's going to be to dig it out might depend on lots of things. How willing you are to undergo change. How good the psychologist you're seeing is. I'm sure, how your personal psychology, your genetic makeup. I'm sure there's plenty of factors, but again, this idea, the way this idea is spread in the community is that, oh, it's getting like deeper into the subconscious, and it's going to be harder to dig it out. And no, it's not. It's welcome back to reality. This is not happening. It doesn't have a depth. You either know about it or you don't. And how hard it's going to be to find it depends on how much psychology you're willing to research and how many psychologists you're willing to go to. I mean, like, if a good psychologist or a friend of mine had told me years ago, hey, real psychology, you have a self-esteem problem. Watch, here's the proof. I would have immediately figured it out. If someone had have just come and told me, you have a, self-esteem problem, it would have been obvious. And then I would have like, oh, yeah, I actually do. If he had enough proof, if he was convincing enough, right? But, okay, so how deep was that belief in my subconscious? Like, where's the depth here? It just depends on, lots of things, but again, I can't see the depth here. Like you can instantly reveal any one of your beliefs, given the right circumstance. So, how is there depth? I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe certain things are just obviously way harder to find out about. I mean, surely there exists things like that, but in general, in my experience, I've never really encountered this. To me, this idea of depth, I've heard people say that things can get so deep in the subconscious that they become physiological, that they become physical. Think about that. This person is claiming that not only does the subconscious have depth, but it also it can become physical? What? How is that possible? How would that make any sense? Why would it getting deeper, why would it eventually become physical? That's not how it works. The subconscious isn't linked in that way to your physiology. It doesn't work that way. But this is a serious, sober claim made by certain individuals. Now, I mean, I think I'll end it there, guys. Maybe we'll do a quick recap before we end it. So, number one, the idea that your subconscious is separate to you. That you, when you want to go change a belief, you need to attack the subconscious as if it's a separate entity, as if it's not the conscious you. Wrong. You don't need to do this. Number two, it has a mind of its own. It actually does have a mind of its own, but not in the context that you care about. Not when it comes to beliefs. It doesn't actually, if you know about a certain belief and you're trying to change it, the subconscious does not have a mind of its own. It has a mind of its own when it comes to certain things, definitely. It regulates your heart rate on its own. It does certain calculations on its own, definitely. But not ones that you care about. Not ones that actually matter to you. The way it's claimed, though, is that it does matter to you. That it can make a choice whether to change this belief or not. It's claimed that it's actually separate to you, that it's not you deciding to believe or make up your mind, it's your subconscious. No, wrong. Okay, number three, it's irrational. No, it's not. The reason you haven't been convinced is you don't have enough evidence. Number one, don't expect to believe some ridiculous claim like birds don't use wings to fly. Are you ever going to believe that? No, you're not. And number two, the other reason it can appear to be irrational is you don't have a good understanding of the evidence. Because as I said in my last video on beliefs are understanding. So bad understanding equals no belief. So that's why you have this illusion that your mind is being irrational. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the mind isn't biased and it doesn't have biases and it's perfectly weighing evidence and it's this perfect balance. No, it's not. I get it. But again, it being a bit biased is completely different to it being completely irrational and emotional. In one case, you can convince it. In another, you've no way of convincing it. So it's completely different. it's not irrational in a way that's meaningful to you. It's not irrational in a way that matters to you. And finally, that it has depth. I mean, maybe you can assign depth individually on a case-by-case basis, depending on how hard that belief was to find. But again, given the right circumstance, you can bring any belief, any subconscious belief, out of the subconscious immediately, instantly, momentarily. Not momentarily, that doesn't work. Instant magically. I can't think of another word. But anyway, so no, it doesn't. It doesn't have depth, and it definitely doesn't get like deeper and more convoluted. Nope, wrong. Sorry. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked that video. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you liked it, also subscribe. Also, please hit the notification bell thing that's on beside the button. Because if you don't, your subconscious might do some very bad things to you. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time.